Hi everyone, welcome to today's Software Magazine launch event for the issue 121, July. I know that you might be in vacation, but it will be an interesting event, and you should take care about it. Today, let me show the slides. Today we will talk about blockchain. That will be our main focus. And we'll talk also in English. So we just decided to be in English. So we'll talk about how Accesa team build a blockchain solution in 24 hours at a hackathon. Ajay and Paul will tell us more. Dan Sabadas, who I hope will join, will we'll talk about how we can build a blockchain solution for private money, how we can test it. We actually published the first part because it's a huge article. Uh, you will see, and then for short, I will tell you about what are the latest changes in the Java language, Java CA18. It is the development version. And later we'll talk about the blockchain with all the guys from here. Uh, Even if it's summer, we decided to have the event, even if if it's online, is more is better for everyone because our speakers are not necessarily in Cluj and neither myself. But before going on, I think I'll tell you a few words about this magazine issue, which I'm inviting you to read it online, even if it's, I'm referring mainly to the Romanian version on today's of Mark.ro. So the first two articles will be presented here and I talk about them. We'll have a nice interview by the ING, who open a hub here in Cluj. And then you will have some interesting jobs from our partner. You might be interested. The developers, our own conference, 2022. We talk about the applied tech scene. With 1 month before, we talk about the main stage. Yeah, my article, and then we got a really interesting interview, which I'm, just be aware about it. It's with Daniel Tamash. We talk about their product WAM and how they want to be a unicorn maybe in 2 years. We'll see, and we wish them luck. Then we have from Nora Dobre a book review on HR. We have also another article on with the experts panel we got last month, which was on machine learning, and some books proposals on blockchain, and some more articles about how you can work from home and some meteorological stuff. Okay, I hope I made you all interested about this issue. I would like to thanks to our partners which are supporting our magazine. Also, if you want, you can do an online subscription to the magazine. You'll receive a PDF file. Okay, so this is all from my side. Let's go next to Ajay, and let me add Paul. Just a second, and maybe I can show myself. Hi everyone. Hi Ajay. Hi Paul. How are you?
Hello, hi Ovidiu. Pretty good, eager to start.
Okay, great. So the stage is yours. I let you with your slides.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you.
Ovidiu. You go, Paul.
Sure.
You want me to say something?
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Paul Trestian. I'm a solution architect in Accesa. My background was mainly on Java and big data projects, but in this case, we are going to talk about the blockchain because we got an opportunity in a hackathon event in Accesa to do something outside of the regular job, and we decided to build the blockchain together with Ajay and other colleagues.
True. It was indeed a very exciting opportunity and quite different than what we are used to. And I've had several occasions where I met colleagues who are interested in blockchain, and they have these questions. So what would be the first step to even start building such a application? And we went through this journey. We had about 2 weeks to prepare and 24 hours to implement. And I think even though it may sound as a cliche, but I think there are 3 basic steps here that are very important when considering such a complicated technology. And the first one would be to research the key technologies that should be used in building such a solution. It might involve a lot of research, but I think it's very important because without this, the world of blockchain can be very overwhelming and there are just too many tools out there. So you might even get a choice anxiety. After that, I think the second step, which is very important also, is before jumping to implementation, it's very important to have a clear system architecture of what we are going to build and different components that will come together to build a system. And lastly, of course, we had 24 hours. We had limited time, which is reality of life. So we had to figure out a way to make sure that we stay on track and we achieve our goal. We achieve our goals in the right amount of time. Is it okay, Paul, if I start with the first deciding key technologies?
Yes, sure.
I feel like, right. I'm very passionate about this topic. We had several debates in first few days discussing multiple possibilities of how we could go and to build such a solution. And one of the major things that we decided was that we would deeply research two possible technology use cases. First would be to see a project, which is a more like a platform, and it's quite popular, Hyperledger, and they provide you pre-built libraries. I think it has everything that you need. Basically, all you need to do is compose your application. And the second technology that we explored was Tendermint, which doesn't have everything that is possible in terms of building a blockchain application, but it does part of the work. For example, peer-to-peer network, consensus mechanism, blockchain persistence. So it handles those concepts for you, and then you have freedom to build everything else on top of it. In the end, we decided to go with a solution like Tendermint because we were really curious, what does it take to build those components rather than just using them out of box from Hyperledger Fabric. Apart from that, we also had a realistic debate about the competencies we had. We all work in a Java based environment, so we decided that everything else that we will use would somehow be closer to it. But I think most of the platforms, I mean, it is an assumption, it's not a fact, but I think they do go with Golang. It's quite popular for networking. I know Tendermint is implemented there. You have other possibilities with C++. For us, it was the Java-heavy environment, so we went with Java. And from that point onward, once we were clear on what technologies were to be used, it was easier to also decide our software architecture. And I think Paul would be the best person here to get into this.
Yeah, one thing to also add here is that one of our criteria, we went with Tendermint also because we wanted to learn something with this opportunity, and we felt like Tendermint offered us more control and opportunity to go in depth a bit in the components for a blockchain that are required, compared with like Hyperledger that comes with lots of out-of-the-box solution. And moving forward to the system architecture that we built here, what we came up with was on the first day of the event in the beginning. And it's a really simple client application in the network that we worked on. On the client application, we had a web application where the users can interact with our blockchain to create a wallet and do some transactions, like send tokens to each other. That was the functionality that we were able to achieve in those 24 hours. And we needed a UI for that. We used Angular for that because we had a colleague, one team member that had experience with Angular on the front end. And on the back end, we used Java because most of us have experience with Java on the server application, and Java with Spring Boot. In this case, we aimed on this part. We aimed for something that we are most familiar, so we can manage to implement the functionality easily in a short time. Then you will see that this client application communicates with the blockchain. In this case, I think we built 4 nodes which communicate between them, and the information from the client application goes through to one of the nodes, and then it gets broadcasted to all the other nodes in the network. And looking at the nodes, taking a closer look at how a node looks, we had to, since as Ajay mentioned, we use Tendermint Core, which has some of the components implemented, but lots of them not already implemented. We had to take a deep dive and trying to understand what Tendermint does actually, and this was part of our learning process. And we had to look at some of the components that are mentioned in this diagram, like peer-to-peer module, which discovers the network. We had some challenges during the hackathon, and at some point we had issues with the discovering of the nodes, so we had to read about that component and try to understand it. Then we had to look a bit into the consensus mechanism to understand a bit how that one works. And we also had to understand a bit that it has a storage there called using level DB in this case, but the idea is that it's a persistent storage that stores the transactions that happened on the blockchain. What we also implemented from here is inside the node, the validator part that you can see there in Java, and JetBrains Exodus we used for storage. Again, we went with Java because we are most familiar, and JetBrains Exodus, it's something that it's lightweight, and we were able to persist data in a few lines of code on the node. The JetBrains Exodus had application-related, like business-related information, while LevelDB, it's abstract of, and it's part of Tendermint and is abstract of the business. It just stores any transactions and any information.
True. This was indeed a very important point. We could have left Tendermint Core to be a black box for us and just use the API to get around. But as I think it is connected to the first point we were going with, researching properly the technologies that will get into the development part, because I don't think we could have deployed the nodes without really understanding what's going underneath. What does it take for a network to stay stable and connected? What does it mean for a peer to die and disconnect from the network? What are the consequences? What truly happens when the node actually comes back online? So there were many nits and grits here that really helped us to make a stable solution, which we were able to, in the end, demonstrate with confidence because we understood what's happening under the hood. And I think at the beginning, I don't know if you remember, Paul, we had this confusion. So where does the data get stored? Is it just in Tendermint Core, or is it in the validator? Why are there 2 databases? What's the impact of each one of them? And yeah, I think if we didn't went more deeply into each technology there, I think it would have been a challenging task to finish the solution.
Yes, I agree.
Right.
I remember we had challenges in pretty much all the areas described in this diagram, and we had to spend time understanding them.
True. I guess that's what made it also a lot of fun, right?
Yes.
Once we had all of this, I think that was the right place for us to start our hackathon morning. We had clarity, we had these diagrams with us, we had all the information. And during this time, the team was also mentally prepared to face the action day. And I remember the morning was the morning first few minutes, we managed to divide all our responsibilities because of how much clarity we had. We divided ourselves in 5 groups with no problem at all. Each person knew exactly what they needed to do. We did not need a single person to decide in which direction we should go. And to me, that was brilliant because it would be too much to say I've never experienced such a thing before, but it indeed is rare to have such a clarity and have such a confidence in the team towards implementation was remarkable. And I think it was also a healthy thing that we did. We divided responsibilities based on our competencies and our interests. So I remember that we had some more parts to somehow figure out, not necessarily that we knew everything from out of the box. And there were parts that we truly excelled at. So it was easier to somehow build the whole feature that we had in our groups. But I'm curious, Paul, what was your favorite moment or favorite responsibility from the day?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, I think for me it really mattered, and I was really happy that we were able to actually be organized and split in teams, so we parallelized the work. Like I remember how we had, since we were 7 members, we had like 3 to 4 teams of 1 or 2 members each, and everyone had clear visibility on what they need to do, and having those team things that we did every 2 hours. I know, except the overnight, we had like 8 things or so that we consider kind of sprints, micro sprints, that helped us check the status and work on integration of different components. And I feel like there was no downtime for any team member, and I liked that. The collaboration that we were able to achieve without working in the past together, because we were from different teams and different projects. So this was the first time we worked together, and it worked fine.
True. I know the presentation is about building blockchain, but I think it is important to see the experience here, because I feel it came from the preparation that we had. I've had projects, large projects, much bigger projects than what we did in 24 hours. And it was evident there that lack of preparation can cause a lot of confusion, especially mid-project when you face a challenge that you have no idea about. I remember 1 a.m. during the night, we faced a very tricky bug where the transactions weren't getting committed because of how we I think we just missed the fact that validators need to be a deterministic finite state machine, and we used random UUIDs in order to give some IDs to the transactions, and it's something small to miss, and if you don't have clarity, this could become a really big issue when you are in mid-project. So yeah, that was very interesting to see how clarity on things helped us move more smoothly. And it would be very ideal to say that we achieved all our objectives that day. that brings to my last point on the slide, less is more. We did have to face realistic time bounds, and we did have to cut some features. Unfortunately, it was one of the features I was working on. We wanted to add permission-based transactions, so certain users would be able to execute certain transactions, and not everybody has same permissions to do all the transactions. But given the time bounds, we decided to not move further there. And I think these were the key parts which I would say helped us prepare a good demonstration for our app. Although we did sacrifice certain features, but nevertheless, we had a successful demonstration and a working prototype at the end of the day. In the end, I think what message I want to convey here is when it comes to preparing blockchain, there is often a question, and they are not wrong questions. What should be the governance model? What should be the way of verifying transactions? Should it be proof of stake, proof of work? Which way should we name the coin? Which way should we? What social impact should we bring through the blockchains? And they are all valid questions. But for us, before we could answer these questions, at least for me, it was very important to understand blockchain from the core. What do you think, Paul? Now that we know what it takes to have a consensus mechanism, the kinds of algorithms that go behind consensus mechanism, the various type of P2P networks that we can use, and what kind of resource implication it brings on our computing nodes. How do you feel about designing your future blockchain solution?
Yeah, so for me, it feels like we barely scratched the surface, honestly. And since this was a new area for me, I mean, I knew about cryptocurrency before, but not so technical and so in depth. So this was the feeling that I got, was that we were barely scratching the surface, and there's so much, as you said, opportunities and areas and options that you can go with, that it would require more time to spend and learn on all these concepts that you've mentioned. And again, after that, there's also the next level, I would call it, the other areas like smart contracts, NFTs, and so on.
True. I think that's the difference, because Paul here, my colleague, who's a software architect, he's always interested in higher level implementations. For me as an engineer, I was very curious to see what goes underneath. How does a processor, or how does concepts like threading come into play, concurrency, and yeah. So that's why I went deeper. At the same time, I think realism of my colleague here is also very valid, because it's not just for the passion of multi-threading that we work on certain technologies. At the end of the day, it should definitely bring some social impact. And considering that, I think through this experience, I do feel a bit more empowered, a bit more confident in exploring the world of blockchain. And I would definitely say that my next step here would be to get more into P2P networks, and maybe learn some concepts like what does it take to secure P2P networks, what kind of P2P networks are there, how can we have a global peer-to-peer network which can be joined by anyone and left by anyone, or what does it take to have a structured overlay network where we know this is the thing that we built, where we had 4 nodes and we knew which nodes they would be, and those were the nodes which will stay active throughout the lifetime of our blockchain application, blockchain system, right? At the same time, it's also, you're right, Paul, learning smart contracts, learning other concepts from blockchain like proof of work, proof of stake are also important parts. And I guess at the end, we come together as a team to build a powerful solution and bring our knowledges together. Right. Yeah, that's all from my side. Would you like to share something else, Paul?
No, I think that's pretty much it. That concludes both our thoughts, I think.
Right.
I think it looks like a great hackathon. How many people were involved in this hackathon, except you two?
In our team, so there were multiple teams with different projects, but in the blockchain one, there were 7 people, 7 team members.
And the entire hackathon, how many people were?
I think there were 16 teams participating.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And it was taking place where?
In one of the Accesa office and online, because we have colleagues online, so it was online friendly, like a hybrid mode.
I see. Okay, that's great.
For example, Ajay was in Bucharest, and one of our other colleagues was also in Bucharest. But we still managed to collaborate quite good.
Yeah. By hybrid model, we mean everybody who made it to office received pizza.
That's great. No beers or just pizza?
Also beers.
We got a question from Alex Zaharia. He's asking us, maybe it was not clear, what type of application did you try to build and what kind of problem did you try to solve?
I think I can answer that. In this case, our main purpose was to learn. So that's why we started this, but we also had a use case, a scenario in mind. We wanted to build a token system, a rewarding system actually, based on blockchain to reward colleagues in our company based on their contributions on the technical sides, like in the competence area side, non-related to projects, like extra curricular activities related on the technical side. And this was one of our ways to build those tokens and have a way to share something that could be translated into value by our management teams if they wanted to actually reward with something physical after that the colleagues.
For me, I think if I may take another minute to answer this. For me, when we were building this, we also had similar questions which we asked ourselves. So what are we building here and what's the impact? And for me, the constant focus was not on building an application that resolves a social problem. It was more about building a technical solution which allows multiple computers to participate, verify certain transactions. It doesn't matter what transactions. The system allows you to have end clients that are written in whatever language you would want. At the same time, having Tendermint allows you to have something called validator. It's part of the system that validates transaction. And at the same time, you can write validators in any language possible. So those were the key focuses for us to implement. What came out of it as a coin-based token system that Paul was mentioning, I felt was a byproduct. What we truly won there was the understanding of how each of these components work. So we can configure them to play any role. Permission-based blockchain, distributed, truly decentralized blockchain, which can be used to transfer money, or it can be used to validate insurance claims. Right.
Okay, and we got another question where he signed on YouTube. He signed as testing stuff. I hope it makes sense. He's asking why not just fork Bitcoin or Ethereum and go through the code by classes rather than reinvent the wheel. I'm not sure why, because you use frameworks. So I'm not sure why he's asking this.
I see. Well, we didn't end up reinventing the wheel. The fork was not from Bitcoin; it was Tendermint, which is also a very valid framework out there to build such a product. And I think again, as we said, for us, it was more interesting to have certain parts already pre-built, right? Consensus mechanism. We had P2P network, and most importantly, I think Tendermint was one of the projects where you have components divided, right? I think Bitcoin, if I'm not wrong, comes as a complete suite where even every node is same. So you don't get to have different types of node. In Tendermint, you have possibility to just have a seeder node, just have a validator node, or somehow have a full node which provides full functionality, right? So that kind of breakdown really helped us understand different parts. So if we need a solution that packs them all together, yes, why not Bitcoin? But for us, for our understanding and for our learning, that's why we went with Tendermint. And I think in future, because this question comes many times, it's not about reinventing the wheel, but it's about answering how many nodes are needed to protect your ledger, which is the right amount, right? So these kind of questions, for us to answer, we really needed to get down to the lower level implementation, experience it ourselves. It makes us feel more confident in approaching this. This is not a production solution, right? It's for us to become more confident in the topic itself. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, actually, you kind of covered the answer, so I agree with this. For us, it was more about approaching it to learn something, and it doesn't mean that we could not use like Ethereum or other frameworks to build a similar solution.
Okay, and now one more question with the last one, also from Alex Zaharia, who asked you the first one. Did Tendermint allow you to deploy nodes in a custom cloud, or you have to deploy them on their cloud? So how is the deployment there?
It's completely on your hands, so
okay.
You can deploy it wherever you want.
So you can build your own virtual machines and stuff like that. And can you deploy them on their cloud too, or not?
I know they provide a SDK. I'm not sure if they provide services beyond. We never went in researching what they provide as a blockchain platform as a service. We only worked on their repository, right?
I see.
So, yeah, and our deployment was on our local machine. So.
Yeah. Okay, so the guys are thanking you. Great. So Ajay and Paul, let's stop here, and then we'll talk again in about 20 minutes, maybe, at the panel.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
See you later.
Okay, and the next one, let me stop Paul. Hi Dan, is it okay to talk in English? It's fine. I cannot hear you. You are on mute. No.
Now, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Don't you hear some echo?
Somehow? No, it's good. It's good.
Then
so we are
perfect.
seeing you from the phone, right?
yes. I'm speaking on my headset, but you're seeing me on my phone. I don't have a video camera on my laptop. Yeah.
Oh, interesting laptop.
Yes.
Is it old or it's new?
It's a new one. Is a gaming laptop, so maybe that's why. Yeah. And I received it from the company, but that's it.
Maybe the company removed the camera.
yeah. No. It is from the factory.
Okay, so nice to see you again, Dan. And I was just talking with someone today about some of your past presentation on blockchain. So I hope it will be a great one today. Let me change a little bit the slide. Let me disappear. And do you want to show you the article, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I will also stop the camera because I think I can concentrate better than on the. If it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can put a picture of you. I think. Let me see if it's
that's even better.
Okay. Yeah. We got a picture.
Good.
Okay, that was my console. And here is your great article. It was pretty long, so we have to cut it a little bit.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes, I've seen. Yeah,
Next-
yeah. It was big. It was big. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you zoom it a little, just a little?
Let me see if I can.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
enough.
just
That's
a second.
enough. Yeah.
Let me change. Let me see if I. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
This is something special. Yeah, I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me know where I should stop.
Yeah, that's enough for now.
Okay.
So I started the other two articles last year, and I felt I had a depth because I said it will be a trilogy to have this third article, which now is split in two. Me and my colleague Peter from Netherlands have this passion of blockchain and cryptocurrencies. He works in this area. For me, is still just a hobby, but for him is work. So we had this prototype that we wanted to create, where we emulate some of the functionality that big decentralized financial providers like Curve Finance on Ethereum and clones on Binance chain are streaming money, basically to their subscribers who contributed with some money in the early stages of the project and have some stake based on their like actions in a company based on their percentage of coins owned. They have some money streamed continuously forever, and lots of coins. And in our case, because we thought of politics and of work contracts, where since time immemorial, but at least 150 years, this example is very famous, where the worker is borrowing the employer with his work for a month or a week, and after that, at the end of that week or month, the employer gives the money that owes to the employee. We wanted to do away with this way of work contracts, which after all probably is enforced for thousands of years. And we wanted to have a work contract where you are paid by the second, basically. So that was the aim of this article, to implement such an article, or such a contract, but also, of course, to show in very technical details the Solidity language and JavaScript and that library that is used for testing a Solidity contract. So 75% of the code is JavaScript, aimed for testing the contract, and 25% is the Solidity contract. So we have a work contract with the following rules, and I expose the rules. First, an employee can make a deposit of money that are aimed to an employer, can deposit some money that will be streamed, emitted continuously to an employee. The money will be emitted based on what the employer wants, starting with a certain date, and the emission of money will end at a certain end date. And during that interval, the money will be streamed continuously by the second, basically. Now, the third rule, if you can scroll a little, please, Ovidiu. The employee can always to request the money, to withdraw the money that is owed, based on how the time slides. And with a certain sample, you can anytime request the money, and after you requested the money are reset, and the emission continues from zero. So you can request the money anytime you want and as many times as you want. And of course, the employee can always see the money that that is owed based on the time that passed, and also based on the past withdrawals, if he had some past withdrawals or if she had withdrawn the money. And then the fifth rule, the employee as well as the employer can always cancel the contract. So if some of the parties are not satisfied, they can cancel the contract, and what money were streamed already will go to the employee, and the rest of the money that were not streamed will go back to the employer who made the deposit. And the fifth rule is that the employer also can see how much money are there to be streamed. And so the money that were streamed is one part, and the money that were not yet streamed is the other part. That can be seen, of course, by the employer. And then we started with the prerequisites like Node.pm, Node.js, the tool that we use as developers, which now the most popular is VS Code from Microsoft. And then started with an empty contract. We deployed, we created a test for deployment to see that the owner is set accordingly. Then we added a method, create stream, which represents this financial agreement between employer and employee. And we, in a test-driven development, we added code, we tested that, we had some expectations, they failed, we added a code so we make the expectations not fail. Of course, we could not do true TDD because then the article would be 100 pages. So we did anyway. We did the tests for the coverage and the code. We have them in pair, so one can have an understanding of how what was in our mind when we implemented this, and what were the tests that implemented really the requirements. And in the second article will be the rest. For the first one, we have the most important method, which is create stream. And in the second part of the article, which will be probably next month, I think, right, Ovidiu?
Yes.
We will have the other three methods: balance, check balance for the employer and employee, withdraw money for the employee, and the cancel of the stream, again made by the employer or by the employee, all with the appropriate and corresponding unit tests. So yeah, it's a hobby that I still have the bug, and I think will remain for forever, pretty much. This blockchain and programming against the blockchain in this area is a very, very interesting, compelling thing. Ethereum and Solidity resembles a lot with JavaScript. Is not like JavaScript to be a language invented in created in just 10 days, but anyway, it was made in a rush. So I don't know, a few months, not years, not weeks, but months. And we can see that we have lots of challenges for security, especially with hacks that cost the users billions and billions of dollars, and exploits. And this is because of the language. But this makes even more interesting and exciting and compelling to do the programming in such an environment. The language itself is not very complex. It's not like C, C++, Java, C# or these high-level languages, but still it is compelling because of this distributed architecture and a completely different way of programming things in a decentralized manner in the blockchain. So basically, that's what I had in mind for this article.
Okay. Yeah. So there is also I should mention it in the article. There is also a GitHub, or we'll just let it for the second part. It's a Git repository from where everyone, right, can download the
Yes,
source
it
code.
is. Yeah, it was not included in this, but in the second part, in the continuation of the article, we have also the GitHub. Anyway, what I wrote here is what we will find in GitHub, of course.
Okay, great. Okay, Dan. So thanks for the presentation. Let me see. I have a question, but from Alex Zaharia, but I'll ask you to the panel. I'll ask all of you at the panel.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we are fine. So let me just present pretty shortly something about Java, the news, and then we'll get to the panel. So
Yes.
just stay connected.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and now let's see. Yeah, here's my slider. So I'm every time I'm talking about Java, I'm pretty happy because in my life I was, my first life as a developer was as a Java software developer. After that, things are changed, and since few years I'm writing on JavaScript, mainly on this stream event. Anyway, Java made a lot of progress, and the Java CA version 18, it's containing the, let's say, the development of the platform. It will be stable. It will be available for, let's say, something like 6 months, and then part of this enhancement will go in the long-term version, which right now is the Java SE 17. So let's see what they bring on inside. So the first change, and the most basic one, maybe with not so much impact, is that all the car set now are default UTF-8. For a big project or a good professional, this should not be a problem because you should set your car set in the beginning, and usually this is UTF-8. But anyway, I think that's great. That's by default set. So next is the inclusion of a web server, which I think it's great and get it closer to cool framework like, I don't know, Node.js, Nuxt, and PHP, and a lot of other like Laravel, and a lot of other frameworks that comes with a web server, so you don't have to search and do the deployment just for development. Of course, this is for development. By default, it's starting on localhost on port 8000, but you can change it with the parameter minus p, and also you can change the from where this web server should start serving the content. What I saw on playing with it on a Mac is that is requiring to give it the the absolute path of the folder you want to serve on your local host. Okay, next one is have to do with the documentation, and it's basically replacing code and pre-code tags with a snippet. Not a big deal, but probably for those of you who write a lot of documentation, it should be good. And somehow, let's say the last part is the vector API. Now it can compile the code. I mean, it can precompile everything based on your CPU, so it's not generic, and it's adapting all the operation to your CPU. The only drawback, let's say, is that you need to use some more fancy structure, like you can see in the right side. So basically, you have to add, before starting to do your for loop, you need to do all this stuff with array and species and so on. From what I understood, this is happening also in other languages, so should be a big deal. But if you are using big data, machine learning, things like this, and you are managing a lot of arrays and data, that should be really good and will speed up your flow. Mainly, this is it. I don't think we have, and yeah, if you have any question, you can send me an email. But that was all from my side. Thanks. Okay, and let's go to the panel now, or to dialog screen, and let me do, okay, just a second. Okay, now it should work. So you know Ajay, let me switch to the panel. Let me put myself somewhere, and just a second to add everyone here. And Paul. Okay. Yeah, I see we are all. I hope this is working to change. Let me see if it's working to change the things like this. Yes. And now done. Okay, yeah, it's working. Good. I was fixing just before the event some of the code, so that's why I was having some small emotion. So the first question for you guys on our blockchain, but I don't want necessarily to be so crazy. Also, if our audience have any question, you can write them on whatever you are looking at. We'll see it. So the first question will be if you like to do just a short introduction about yourself. So we can start with Ajay, if it's fine.
Yes. Well, I am living in Romania for almost 8 years now, and I graduated as a electronics and communication engineer, but decided to pursue my career in software engineering. In my experience so far, I've worked in mostly web development, but recently, for the last few years, I've been getting more deeper into algorithmic implementations in graphs and see use cases of such algorithms, which also brought my attention to distributed computing and how different nodes could be connected with each other to build a system like blockchain. Yeah, and I'm happy to be here.
Okay, sounds great. Dan, can you tell us a few words about you? I know you changed lately the company, so yeah, any update would be good.
Yes, yes. Well, I graduated mathematics in Bucharest at the University of Bucharest. I worked there for a few years. Then I moved to Canada for 9 years, and also I'm in Cluj for almost 8 years now. We returned back. I worked in a variety of businesses, but mostly Microsoft technology is related. So C#, databases, SQL Server, JavaScript frameworks proposed by Microsoft, stuff like this. As a business, many an area, a varied area of businesses. Right now, I'm working with a startup in the clinical research area. So big pharma and financial modeling of studies of when a new medication is launched.
Do you have also blockchain there or not yet?
No, not yet. We are just at the beginning with the business, so we are at the beginning, still at the beginning.
Okay, nice, great. Thanks, Dan. And now let's go to Paul. Paul, if you like to tell us a few words about you.
Sure.
First, where are you based? In Timișoara, Bucharest?
No, in Cluj.
In Cluj, okay.
Yeah. So I can start with that. Yeah, I'm based in Cluj. I've studied UBB computer science at UBB in Cluj-Napoca, and I've been living in Cluj since then. I currently work as I mentioned, as Accesa. My background was mainly Java on web applications, like the backend side of web applications most of the time. And in the last couple of years, I transitioned towards big data projects in cloud. I worked in AWS building a big data solution, and now currently I'm working on a project for a German bank in GCP as a cloud provider.
Okay, and then the first question will be, basically will be for you, or we'll come back. So basically, what kind of framework, blockchain framework are you using, and how you are, what about quality and testing it?
I can try to answer. My experience, as I mentioned, probably it's quite in the beginning of the blockchain and everything. But from my opinion, I've used in this hackathon Tendermint. I've looked into Hyperledger Fabric and just did the tutorial, which I saw it's quite fast. So if someone wants to start on something blockchain related, I recommend their tutorial. It worked quite easy out of the box. And my plan next is to look into Ethereum and smart contracts, as I mentioned, I think, before.
Can you use the framework for Tendermint for NFTs too?
I guess so. I haven't looked so much into it, but I'm pretty sure you can extend it to include that in the blockchain. Once you have the blockchain, you can extend, but I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of work in building that because you don't have functionality out of the box.
I see. Okay. Ajay, what's your experience with the blockchain frameworks?
I wouldn't say my experience is much different than Paul's here. We worked on Tendermint, I think, as the most experience that we got in terms of building blockchain application. But I would like to talk about quality, right? For us, not having, let's say, deep background in blockchain provides us an opportunity to really define our own terms of quality. Like, what do you mean when you say quality in a blockchain? Does it mean how fast it can process the transactions? Does it mean how secure it is? Does it mean how truly decentralized it is? Or does it mean that it can help you build a solution that fits your needs as an organization, whether it's a corporation, bank, government organization, right? So this was one of the biggest questions that stays on our mind, and that's why we focus more on underlying concepts, and through implementing different components, you're able to define your own quality. In that terms, you can go for very lightweight P2P algorithms and save a lot of resources, or you can go with more secured, more stable ones, but they are a bit more resource intensive, right? So based on your use case, you can, yeah, please.
Did you find any bugs while playing with it?
With Tendermint?
Yes.
It's for us in our testing, we didn't have any major issues because we were still at the stage of understanding it. To find the bug, I think we would have to become real experts. But nevertheless, it is still limited to just gossip protocol, right? Out of the box, it would be just one algorithm that you get, and it has one variation of BFD, so you're limited to that as well. It doesn't provide any further implementation out of the box from that, so from there you're free to develop whatever you want. And as Paul said, his next task is to look in Ethereum. Mine is to go much deeper into peer-to-peer networks and see what other recent studies we can use in order to provide alternative solutions to networking problem that blockchain has been facing, in my opinion.
Okay, thanks.
One thing on the bugs side that is worth mentioning, maybe what I've noticed when we worked on this in Tendermint, we tried, at some point we discussed about discovering nodes, and there are validator nodes that run some code, and there are also seed nodes, which just act as an intermediate to discover other nodes. And we tried to use the seed nodes, and something was not working, and we followed their documentation. We don't know. It doesn't mean there's a bug there, but we got to a point where we did what they specify in their documentation and didn't work.
And didn't work. Okay. Yeah. So you might got the bug.
We-
Yeah.
we got it.
That's why I'm asking. Let's see what Dan is saying, because I know he's more I think low level, right, Dan?
Not quite. Well, the solidity.
I mean,
is,
Solidity. When I was reading about Solidity 5 years ago, or no, maybe 3, it was full of bugs, as far as I remember.
Yes.
I don't know how it is today.
Well, it's not that full of bugs. It is a very clear improvement, and many things were abstracted, so it's a little more abstract. It's not that closer to that assembler language of blockchain. So
Okay.
it advanced a little.
And tell us a little bit what are you using? Do you use any framework, or you just use on the Ethereum all the stuff?
Right now, the most interesting and the most used tool is the one that I also used for the article, for the sample, Hardhat. That's the
Okay.
that's the tool, and is coupled with the previous tools that I mentioned briefly last year, Ganache, for instance, for creating an in-memory blockchain. When we test something, we create a new blockchain and we create a new contract and we deploy in the blockchain, and we can manipulate the times and everything related to the blockchain. So I have a virtual blockchain where we test everything.
How many chances, if someone wants to implement a smart contract to create a mistake, or I don't know, just lose some money, or maybe some computing time, which also costs money?
Depends. It depends on the team that is being assembled, their experience. It depends, but I don't know, over 90% of the applications are pretty naive and pretty badly written. Yeah.
Okay.
It's as usual in any industry,
Okay. Dan, how do you think we can improve the blockchain technology? I don't know, today. I mean, like migration from proof of work to proof of stake, or delegated proof of stake. What do you think?
I don't know. These things tend to go after a while to a religious discussion, and I don't know. Anyway, I don't have. I tend to favor more proof of work than proof of stake, even though is this big drawback of slow time of transaction execution and acceptance, and a lot of computing power and energy wasted. But on proof of stake is the disadvantage of centralization and of big money that are really very fast getting everything. That's it.
Yeah, and on the proof of stake, I think we'll vote only those who have a lot of. I mean, we count only those who have a lot of stake there, right? I mean,
Yeah. But is in the same time, if you want something working, you really want a solution where you have microtransactions that solve in a few milliseconds. You don't stay for your coffee 1 minute, So
agree.
So we eventually, I think both worlds will emerge. Is like Lightning Network in Bitcoin, which, well, is not anymore completely decentralized if you use that, but is very fast, and probably will be a hybrid solution. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, even today, if you talk about the money, it's not necessarily decentralized, because you still need to use a store for an exchange to do all the stuff, right?
Yes, there are also the local exchanges. So yeah, and there you have a little more freedom than in a centralized exchange. But again, in the real world, in a centralized exchange, you have much better price for selling or buying the cryptocurrency than you have at a local street exchange.
Okay, great.
So yeah.
Okay, then let's go back to Ajay. Ajay, what do you think about, if you want to comment about what can we improve to the blockchain, if you want, or if not?
I think I'm not the right person to answer that, and not because I'm not an expert, which also I'm not an expert, but my focus is not on improving blockchain technology as whole. My focus is more on learning about networking issues here, what could improve the networking rather than blockchain in general. How could we reach the for example, we were discussing about faster network in Bitcoin, but you compromise by having some centralized structure. My goal is to study how can we have a P2P network that is fast, that is stable, that is what are the limits of performance that we can reach there. And
did you got a solution?
Not I mean, there's a lot to study here. It's a big topic here.
Mm-hmm.
There are many researches published. There are many I don't know how to say, but algorithms out there that must be tested. There are limitations of languages. There are multiple things that must be covered, and I think it's a big research effort. And I hope one day I get to finish it and have the answer of what more can we, how much more can we push P2P networks to be faster for us.
What do you think about NFTs? Do you think we will survive to the cryptos because the crypto is going down now, or how do you see it?
I have no idea. I want you to know I'm so far away from those topics. I don't have investment in Bitcoin. I don't have investment in NFT. I don't think I fully understand. I mean, I understand that there are tokenizing real world things into blockchain, but I'm far away from all the economic implementation of blockchain.
Okay, let's go then to Paul. Paul, what do you think about let me ask you so do you think we can improve something on the blockchain? Like, what do you think about proof of stake? We cannot hear you.
Yeah,
No.
I was on mute for
Yes.
First of all, I would favor, but it's just a personal preference. I would favor probably proof of stake because of the facts that Dan mentioned, like energy reasons and performance reasons, even with the risks that it has. I hope that there is a solution, proof of stake related, that will come up that doesn't have the drawbacks, as Dan said, of someone having a majority easily by just having more money, more stake. And I just hope that can move forward in a way. Besides that, what came to mind for me would be in the blockchain area. I would like to see development. I haven't researched yet, but I would like to see development of frameworks or technologies that help us develop easily blockchain-related stuff like smart contracts. And one example is the one that Dan mentioned. I think it was called Ganache, like an in-memory blockchain. I think that's one piece of the puzzle that can help developers and attract more people into that space of, okay, how can I start locally and try out something? And having more development in that space of frameworks, and maybe frameworks over frameworks that can help and get mature and get contributors in those frameworks, I think that would help the blockchain space. And by attracting more people and more interest, the technology, I think, can move forward faster.
Sounds good. What about decentralized identity? What do you think about, because you don't have an identity, or you can prove, how do you see this?
Honestly, this is not something I've looked into. I don't think I don't know about it.
Oh.
I don't know what that would involve.
Okay.
Maybe something like, actually, I haven't looked into it, so I cannot.
It's a cool topic, so I suggest to look at. Dan, do you want to comment on this decentralized identity? How to prove who are you, and we cannot hear. Okay.
No, I'm not. I don't know the subject very well
Okay,
to
so
comment.
nobody knows.
But overall, I agree with my colleagues. First, let's try not to solve the big problems of humanity, but try to solve something specific from the blockchain. And the second one, and that's why I wrote this series of articles. Try to popularize the blockchain and the environment and the way of doing programming and thinking of the blockchain. And after we get enough bright minds here, something good will appear. Something bad too would appear, of course, but we are optimists, and hopefully something good will appear.
Okay, and now a question. Okay, a more real question. We got one from Alex Zaharia. He might left, but this is a question. So the money streaming seems like it will work well in a private blockchain where the cost of transaction is very small or almost non-existent. But it might not work financially viable in public networks like Bitcoin and Ethereum, where the cost per transaction is quite high, which is true. How you will tackle this problem? So it's basically for your article, more or less.
Yes, well, in a proof of stake network, it works very well. We have lots of examples of this streaming, and the problem is what we do in a proof of work system. Even in a proof of work system like Ethereum, Curve Finance is there, and this model of streaming money is there. It still works, but well, if they will move from proof of work to proof of stake, now we are waiting for a year for this event to happen. Then, of course, the transactions will be very, very low. So for this, again, I don't have a solution for this. We will see. We'll see.
Do you have any?
What we can do, just one thing strictly related to the article, and with the second part is doing good programming. So when we are doing all that implementation in Solidity in a smart contract, do not waste the user's guess. So do the programming and the calculations in a very, very efficient manner. So with that, well, you don't solve it is the problem, but at least you reduce the gas with 30%, which can be significant if the cost of the transaction is big. So that's the only thing real, tangible that I can do as a programmer.
And do you have a preferred, I don't know, currency where the fee is lower, like some stable coin that can do this?
No, well, it depends. If the stable coin works on is migrated to Ethereum, the fees will be pretty high. If it's migrated to a proof of stake, like what's that in Asia, Tron, then it will be low, very low. So yeah,
I see.
it depends. Yeah.
Okay, then let's go back to
on this topic. Oh,
yes,
sorry.
Paul?
I just wanted to add that on this regarding to this question. I know about, for example, Solana, which has quite low fees, but it has, I think, something new to me called proof of history. And I think based on how much you stayed on as a node on the blockchain, you get validations and can contribute to the blockchain. And I know that those have quite low fees at the moment. I don't know if those rise with the price of Solana or not, but the gas fees were quite low and they can do really fast transactions.
They have about 2,000 transactions per second in a real world, which is more than impressive compared with the other chains. So yeah, Solana seems to be really, really good. Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, so then the question, Paul, for you. We got an interview in this issue of the magazine with Daniel Tamash, who's building his approach is really interesting because he's building casual games, but also it's having a blockchain solution. So whoever is playing can get some virtual money, but that's built on blockchain. So what do you think about this approach about using blockchain for other stuff than cryptocurrencies?
Yeah. Honestly, since I'm interested in blockchain, I would encourage trying out to build all kinds of solutions based on blockchain, especially if there's no like security risk or people's health risk or anything like that. I would go forward with anything and try out this kind of solutions in different domains, areas, so that we get the experience and we get the feeling what works and what doesn't. Because I think for some of the use cases or for some of the scenarios and ideas, just time will tell if it makes sense or not. And sometimes better ideas can come up from an idea that it's I don't know, decent or not so good. Better ideas can come up by seeing how the initial projects are built. So I would definitely encourage using blockchain for anything that comes to mind.
Okay, Ajay, if you want to add on this, so what do you think about using blockchain on different other projects, and if you have any example or ideas on this?
I was very curious about ransomware protection. So to me, that sounds as a good opportunity because just in Europe, I think ransomware attacks are worth hundreds of billions of euros. So definitely there is interest there. They have enough funds to finance such a research and adopt the technology to make sure that, I mean, not to make sure, but to help in that direction. I think current security, I mean, there are big security players in the market, but I don't think, at least not I'm aware of, any of them are based on blockchain. So it would be interesting to see blockchain taking part in that.
Yeah, I think it's more expensive, but well, more secure, and you have more to prove if you are using it.
Right.
Great. Dan, one more question. How do you see the crypto market, and if you know why everything has
For
went down?
this,
I know
for
you are
this,
passionate.
yeah, I have a passion, but this is more like a question for traders, not for programmers. But I can enter in this dangerous topic. How I see things, you know, that we had our disagreements in the past based on this. The whole real estate in United States is about $400 billion. The whole real estate, that means land and buildings.
Yes.
The whole New York Stock Exchange is valued at about $100 trillion.
Wow.
So I said billion. The real estate is $400 trillion. Sorry.
Okay.
The New York Stock Exchange is 1/4 of that is $100 trillion.
I see. Okay.
And the blockchain, the whole market cap right now is around 1 trillion. It was 3 trillion in October or November, and now it's down to 1 trillion. So 60% of the value was evaporated. But it's still a lot, and is the transactions that are created there are very fast, blazingly fast. Is not like a traditional exchange. Is 24 hours forever. Is no rules. You can anytime bet, buy, sell, do whatever you want. So the dynamicity is much more than in a traditional stock exchange like Tokyo, New York, Stuttgart, whatever. So I think it can only go up overall. In the longer term, it can only.
So you will buy today some cryptos or not?
Yes, I can buy, I can sell. In fact, I'm buying and I'm selling. Right now, I'm more on the sell part in the shorting, and I'm losing money because right now is going up in the last days. So
okay.
we will see.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, great. Good. So let's see if we have any other question. Not so many today, but let's go to Paul. Paul, if someone wants to start working on blockchain as a software developer, what do you suggest to do?
I suggest them they think actually they need to do some research and decide which area or part of the blockchain they want to start looking into. Like, for example, Tendermint Core, and what we did was to understand a bit how blockchain works and the basics of it. But then I see, as I mentioned earlier, smart contracts as a totally separate part that you can start working on without looking at the lower level. So, first of all, my recommendation is identify the types or the areas in the blockchain domain that exist and decide based on what you wish to achieve on which area to go in depth and research.
That's good. That's good. And yeah. Let's go to Ajay. Ajay, what do you suggest to start? I mean, I know you recommend a book, but yeah, except that.
It's funny because I mean, not funny, but it's nevertheless, I had a real conversation with one of our colleagues at Accesa, 1 hour conversation about the same thing, where he wanted to start getting more into this area. And I think it depends, like Paul said, it highly depends on the developer themselves. Let's say if you are more used to Python, then I would recommend to go work on tools that provide Python client. I would not recommend to start learning C++. That's a long journey to just get into the world that uses C++ based solutions. At the same time, I also agree. I mean, you can already see that there are so many different levels of concepts here. The guy I met was very interested in governance process. He was very interested in proof of work, proof of stake, right? So those are the kind of problems he was interested in. And I think they should be testing their ideas on platforms that are already providing these concepts. On the other side, if you're interested in how can we increase the speed of transactions, how can we make the network larger without compromising the performance, then yes, P2P networking is something you should get into. Or if you want to find out new ways of performing consensus mechanism, then yeah, those will be the algorithms that you should get into, right? And I think there, especially in prototyping, I break down different languages, and I think I like Python there because it just, you learn something and it's so much easier to implement and test it. Maybe if you build a production system, yeah, then you need to answer which language is the best one to be running fast on your infrastructure. But until then, I think, yeah, Python might be a good starting point for many developers.
Agree.
Right.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks, Ajay. And then let's go to Dan. Dan, other than, of course, your book you recommend too, and your article, what other should someone who wants to look, start with the blockchain and maybe with cryptos?
In the second part will be at the very end a recommendation of 2 sites which are really nice and good. One was the Ethernaut, which is for advanced people and interested in hacking and security issues, and is very good. It's really very good because it gives you a puzzle, a problem, and you have to solve. You have to crack it. Basically, that's it, and it's not secure. And they are more and more secure, but still exists a way to crack it, and that's how you learn the security in Solidity.
Okay.
And it's really good. And the other one is for the beginners to learn the syntactics and all the usual stuff that come with a smart contract.
And one quick question: if you want to start with blockchain, basically you create your own development blockchain to play with it, or how it's working?
No. You use a test
Okay.
blockchain which is created by the developers of the blockchain. You remember that I don't know,
I know.
6 years ago or 5 years ago, when I wrote the first article about Bitcoin, based also on the book of the same author, Andreas Antonopoulos. It was Mastering Bitcoin. It was I gave the samples in testnet. So there you can do the programming for free. You have test money, and you can play.
For the test
with
network.
it.
Yeah, I
so
remember.
it's the same. It's the same.
Oh, okay.
Is exactly the same.
Okay, so let me see if it is. Okay, so yeah, we are on the same size now. Thanks everyone for attending. I think we got a pretty good summer event, which should be fine. The next one, okay, now let me. No. Okay. Yeah. The next one will be on 31 August and will be hosted by Accesa. So we'll see more interesting presentation. We'll be on site, so we'll be on their site. Of course, we'll stream it online as usual. What else? And since we finished our conference, the developers, the summer conference, we're looking right now to build the IT days, which is a little bit bigger and will take place in 9-10 November. So you can join, or if you have ideas, send me a message. Okay. Have a nice vacation. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
guys.
It was my
Have a
pleasure.
nice evening.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ovidiu. Bye-bye.